Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we are playing Robin Hood, as in the outlaw that used to steal from the rich to give to the poor in the town of Nottingham. I'm not entirely certain if Robin Hood is purely fictional or based on a real life character or is in fact entirely factual. I'm leaning towards it is fiction, but I'm sure somebody in the comments could advise, not just me, but I guess any other audience that aren't aware, whether it's fiction or not. So you've got here Robin Hood with his traditional bow, with his, complete accuracy that was known for. A gold coin pouch I can see, and obviously crowds in the background that are just waiting for that gold to rain on them. Well, enough of the introduction. Let's take a look at today's puzzle. So we have Robin Hood by Gren, and well, I'm not too surprised that there are tons of arrows on the grid. Presumably that's kind of part of the story. Maybe I'm missing other things that are referencing Robin Hood, but the rule set may help explain. So we have normal Sudoku rules apply. So that means the digits 1 to 9 in every row, every column, and every 3 by 3 box. We're very familiar with those. Numbers on arrows sum to the number in the arrow circle. So if we take this arrow, for example, it means these two cells sum up to a value, and that value will be placed in this circle, in this cell within that circle. And you've got many examples of these arrows peppered throughout the entire grid. We also have numbers in a cage sum to the total in the top left of the cage, and numbers can't, it says reply in a cage, but I'm pretty sure that is meant to say numbers can't repeat in a cage. So essentially it says these three cells, for example, will add up to the total, which is written in the top left, which is 22. Now, the important part about cells not repeating is, whilst most of these are obviously all contained within a box or same row or same column, you can see this cell here, for example, could repeat in any one of these two cells, but under normal, what I would call killer cage rules, this cell has to be unique alongside all these other three cells in this 4-cell cage. Let's see, numbers on a V sum to 5, such as these. So these two cells sum up to 5, and numbers on an X sum to 10. It doesn't say in the rules whether they are all given or not. So normally when the rule sets are not explicit about negative constraints applying or not, I assume they don't. So that means that there may be other cells in the grid, for example, let's say these two, that do add up to 5. It just doesn't have to have a V between them. Lastly, we have numbers in gray squares are even, such as these. These are all even cells. And numbers in a gray circle are odd, such as these. So plenty of rules, and in fact, plenty of clues on the grid as well, relative to some of the other puzzles we've played recently. But a completely empty grid. So Gren feels that there are plenty of rules and clues in here and so many constraints that we should be able to solve this with 0 digits in the grid. Now, if you want to see if you can mark this grid as Robin Hood would, if you've got the same accuracy, give this a go with a link in the description down below as usual. And with that said, let me restart the clock and see how we get on. Now, immediately what caught my attention is some of these cages are absolutely known. So for example, a 16 cage can only be made up of 7 and 9. This is an X, that means these two have to sum up to 10, that's 1 or 3. A 17 cage can only be 8 or 9. We've got a number of 15 cages. These unfortunately can be done in a few different ways, so not necessarily unique. Maybe box 1, given just how much we've pencil marked already. So we've got 1, 3, 7 and 9. This is quite an interesting setup with the even and the X. So we've got here, this is either 2, 4, 6 or 8, because it's even. I don't think it can be 8 because it's saying this is 2, and somehow 8 plus another digit are going to add up to 2. So whatever this cell is has to be lower, and therefore this cannot be 6 or 8, because that has to be the lower part of the X. So this is 6 or 8 on this side with the 2 and 4, 2 and 8, 4 or 6. If it is a 2 in here, I could put a 4 to get... No, if it's a 2, that would be an 8. Therefore, this would be a 6. If that's a 4, that's a 6, and therefore this would be a 2. Quite an interesting setup. I think it almost means that there's always a 2 or there is always a 6. Okay. What else do we have that's been given to us? Oh, there's 7, 9. That's 8. That's 9. This says 7 and 8. This is odd, so that's the 7. That's the 8. These now have to be 6 and 9. That's the odd, and that's the even one. So that's 6 and 9. This 9 tells us this is a 7. This is a 9. Therefore, this is a 3. We're actually surprisingly restricted around what we can place in here, aren't we? Yeah, especially with the X. So essentially 4 and 6 are gone, 3 and 7 are gone. So this is 1, 9 or 2, 8. So this could be, in fact, this is only 2, 8 because 1 and 9 are both odd. So this is 2, 8. So 1 and 4, 2 is not available, 3 is gone. 4 and 3 would add up to 7, so 4 is not available. 5 and 3 would add up to 8, which is also not available. And 6 is not available, and we can't go any higher than that. So this is in fact 1, 4, and helps us unlock all of this. 2, 8, 6, 1, just normal Sudoku here. This one couldn't have been here. That's the 1, that's the 5. We can now finish this off with 7 and 9. Beautiful. Oh, 7 and 9. No, that's definitely a 7 and a 9. So we've got 1 and 2 looking at this. That's 3 or 4. That's 1 or 2. 3 or 4 can only partner up with 6 or 7. And then to get to 9, well, it's 1 or 2 again, but sorry, 2 or 3, but actually I just spotted 2 and 8. I'm just not paying attention. That's 1, that's 4, that's 6. And therefore that's 3. And these two cells are 5 and 7. We actually know the order of that. That's the 7, that's the 5. We can finish this off now. We've got 4 and 2 and 4. The 2 would go with a 5. That's right, again, 5. The 4 would go with a 3. These are in fact 3 and 5 and 8. Okay. Sorry, I'm just, it's a nice avalanche of digits in here. I'm just taking stock of where next from where we got to. So I'm thinking the 22 cage without an 8. We have to have a 9 now. Because essentially, if I don't have a 9 or an 8, the highest 3 digits I can get to would be 5, 6, and 7, which is only 18. So 9 means I now need to get to 13. Without the 8 and without the 9, this can only be 6 and 7. 9, this cannot be a 1, so that's not 9. 6 and 7 means this is 3 or 4. In fact, it is a 7 because I can't even have a 4 in there because of this 4. And that's all given now. So this is not 6, not 4. This is 2 or 8 in here. This is not 3, 7, or 9. It could be 1 or it could be 5. So right, let's keep going. So the 2's placed, so this is 1 or 4. This is a 3 to finish off the column. That's looking at this V, so this is 1, 4, that's the even one, that's 1, that's 4. This is 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure we can determine now the composition of this 18. I think it's going to be 5, 6, and 7, given 1, 2, 3, and 4 are gone, and the 8 is in here. So this is 5, 6, and 7. That's not 7. 5, 6, and 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, Oh, yeah, this 8 gives us this. This is a 6-9 pair, and we actually know the order. Any other obvious cages, maybe? I don't think so. 2, 3. What do we have in here? So we've got 5 and 7, I'm going to say. Yep. And then let's finish off this. So it's either 2, 8, and this is odd, so it's not in here at all, with a 1 or a 9. That's not going to be 9 or 8. This is 1 or 2. And therefore this is, I was going to say 3 or 4, but the 3 is already placed. 4, 5. I think that's it. Can't put 2. 2 and 2 would only get me to 4. That's repeating a digit as well. 2 and 1 would get me to 3. And 3 is not available. So yeah, in fact, we've got a 5 looking at this. That's a 4 with a 1 or 2 to get to 5 or 6. Of course it would be. Which also means this is 2 or 8, matching what's in here. This is 1 or 9. This is a lot of options still. Actually, no, excuse me. I've left out something. So it's 2 or 8 or 3. With a 3 definitely in here. I'm tempted to say this is sort of somewhat solvable. It probably is the next cage that we should be looking at. But before I do so, I just feel like, yeah, here is some simple Sudoku. These 2 means the 9 is somewhere in here. It's clearly not going to be on the arrow. That's a 9. We now need to finish this off with 2, 5, 8, one more digit, 7, which can only be down here. Now the 8 is clearly not on the arrow. In fact, actually, I know where the 8 is, given this is an 8. So that's an 8. This has to be 2, 5 to get to 7. Excellent. We can pretty much finish this off, I imagine. So we need 2, 3, and 5. No 3, excuse me. 2 5s. What are we missing? 6s. Yeah. Whatever, so if this is a 2, that's a 5, that's a 2. I was just about to say that this cannot be a 5, but that's actually not true. Maybe in the interest of time I'll look elsewhere. 2, 5, 6, no 1. I think therefore no 6. Because if this is a 6, this has to be 3, which would be 1 and 2. But that's a 1, so that's not 6, that's 2 or 5. And therefore that's the 6. We need a 6 somewhere on here. You know, I just demonstrated that you can't have a 6 unless both of these are 1 and 2. So that's the 6. There's a 6 somewhere in here. I'll worry about that later. We've placed pretty much all the high digits in here. This 7 gives us the 5, the 7. Disappointingly, not the 2 5s, not the 1 4s. Kind of surprised at how much is still unresolved in here. So we know the 7s and the 6s are on this side. The 9s are in here. That's not an 8 because of this 8. It may be time to look at this. Actually, before I look at this 24 cage, it just feels a bit intimidating given how little has actually been pencil marked. I just spotted this. I don't think this could be 2 or 3. Because, you know, we've got 3 cells that have to be unique because they're all in the same box. So that's definitely an 8. That's a 2. That's an 8. This 2 gives us a 3 in here. These have to be unique. That's not a 3. That's not an 8. So this is from 1, 2, and 9. Of course, this is still unresolved. Remarkable. Now, an 8 must have a 1 on it. And it's either 3, 4 or 2, 5. too many options. Whatever this is, that's not a 5. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's not really helping us much. That's not 3, therefore that's not 2. Yeah, not particularly valuable. So 24k it is. We've placed a 3 in here. We need these 3 cells to add up to, and in fact we have a 9. I did say earlier the 9 is on this right hand side, and because this is not a 9, well, it's never going to be a 9 on an arrow. There's a 9 in here. There's a 3, so that's already at 12, and then I need another digit to get to 12. So it's either a 4, 8 or a 7, 5. It's not a 7, 5, therefore it's an 8 with a 4, eliminating 4 and 1 from here. That's a 2, that's a 3. Neither of these are 2 or 3, or a 4 in fact, or 2, 3, or a 4. That's a 1, 2, 5 to get to the 8. This 3 gives us the 5, the 1, the 5, the 3. I think we should be pretty much done at this point, shouldn't we? 5, 2, 6, not 2. Again, really surprised that this is unresolved. This 4, 9 we can resolve though. That's 9, that's 4. These are not 6. In fact, I can resolve these now finally. That's 7, that's 5. That's 2, that's 5, that's 2. You have 6 and 9 in here with 1 and 4. And we know the order of these. That's the 4, that's the 1, that's the 9, that's the 1, that's the 6, that's the 9. Now we've got 5 and we need to get to 13. Now 13, 9 and 4 are not available. 8 and 5 are not available, as you can see, because it both eliminates. So this is 6 and 7. 6, 7. Could have just looked at, what was already in the row because there was only 1 digit left. So I'm not sure this cage was hugely leaded. We've got a 2 on here. I need a 7. It's not 1, 6. It's not 3, 4. It is 2, 5, and it can only be this way. 3, 2, 1 and 4 unresolved, except it is now. 4, 1, 2, 4. What do we have in here? 3, yeah, and 4. And if I've not made any mistakes, an 8, and that's the solution to today's puzzle. It's I guess the best way for a midweek puzzle is for it to be relatively easy and straightforward, as this one was. Still an absolutely beautiful puzzle. Aside from the arrows, though, I'm not seeing the reference to Robin Hood. But to be fair, we have been spoiled by, incredible constructors like Will, where they just have these amazing matchstick men that just depict so much, and blobs as well. With the recent Star Trek one as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's puzzle. Gren, thank you so much for constructing it and sharing it with us. And see you all back for the next video. Bye for now.